What up though, Meerkat, and thank you very much for the support on my last video. Now, I originally wasn't going to make a follow-up to that video. However, with the 10th anniversary of the North American and European releases of the Vita having just passed by, I figured why not, because I didn't even realize that the anniversary was coming up when I made my last one. So I'm going to go into 7 essentials that I feel are necessary for the PS Vita in 2022. This video is not a guide on how to do these things. Think of it as more of a guideline for what you should do when you purchase a new Vita. First off is HENkaku Ensō. HENkaku is the exploit that makes everything else on this list possible, and Ensō is taking it a step further. You see, back in the olden days of 2017, if you had a hacked Vita, you had to make sure that thing never turned off. If your battery died in the middle of you playing Super Mario World, then you would have to run HENkaku again before you had access to that emulator. Ensō makes this exploit permanent so that no matter how many times you restart your system, your homebrew is right there ready to go. Running a Vita in 2022 without Ensō is kind of like bench pressing a baby. You're definitely doing something, but you know. Number 2 is something I failed to do so far, but I do have it in process. I only picked up my Vita again a few weeks ago, so I definitely have missed out, and even before then, I was kind of like putting it aside, saying maybe I'll do this later, but now I definitely feel like the time has arrived. SD to Vita has been a godsend for the Vita community, especially the Vita modding community. You see, for some reason when they designed the Vita, Sony thought it would be a good idea to have a proprietary memory card, similar to the ones that were on the PSP. And for some reason, they didn't change their mind and go back on that decision whenever they released the PS Vita 2000. So people who got into the game late, such as myself, I got in about 4 years late, were finding it hard to find Vita memory cards at a reasonable price. In fact, it cost me almost $40 to get a 16 gigabyte card. That's ridiculous. SD to Vita is an SD card adapter that slots into your Vita's game slot, allowing you to expand your memory and therefore your ability to download games by a factor of whatever you decide. You can go up to a terabyte if you want to. With this tool, there's no reason you should be running out of storage. There's no reason you should have to delete your games, but just in case you do, the next tool on the list should help you. Save Manager is a clutch tool. It's simple but effective. It's a very intuitive interface that allows you to back up and restore your saves. Now, I don't know how much of a problem this is now, but back in the day, whenever you deleted a digital game, especially a digital game that you got off of something like a third party option, let's say that. Save Manager allows you to go in, you click on the icon for the game that you're trying to work with, and you choose either to back it up or to restore it after reinstalling it. And you see how effective a tool like this can be. It's that easy. It's literally that easy. A small thing, but I think a very important thing. The 4th essential on my list is the Vita Homebrew browser. Back in the day, when you wanted to install a new Homebrew, you had to go to the GitHub page wherever it was listed, maybe wololo.net, right? You download the VPK and you install it that way. You download any prerequisites also and you install them via FTP or USB. And that's the way we had to do it for a while until the Vita Homebrew browser came out. Now you have an interface through which you can discover and download new homebrews, including emulators, system tools, and there's even ports of games that were released on other mobile platforms. For example, the Final Fantasy III remake has been released on DS, PSP, Android, iOS, and PC. Now, here's the thing. You could hop on a PSP emulator and play that, but you're going to be playing a PSP game nonetheless, because the fact of the matter is, the mobile port of Final Fantasy III Remake has better fidelity. So if you want to run that natively on your Vita, you download it through VHB. It's simple and easy. Well, simple and easy is a misnomer, but it's relatively straightforward. Number 5 should be very important to my game preservationists out there. Last year, we managed to convince Sony to not shut down the PS3 and PS Vita PlayStation networks. However, they did go ahead and shut down the PSP. I feel like we all know deep down in our hearts that the PS3 and the PS Vita stores are not long for this world. So how are you supposed to access all that great content? How are you supposed to preserve that history? Well, we know for a fact that even though the PSP store has been shut down, people who bought off of that store can still download and play their games. Why does this work is because the network servers are still up. NPS provides you an interface through which to access those servers without any restrictions or any forms of encryption. So the legacy of these great PlayStation consoles can be preserved. And I think that's very important. Now, you're asking about the other thing. Well, officially, my stance on piracy is that I don't condone it, but I feel like we're all grown here. You make a decision as to what you think is best. Number 6 to me is very important, second only to HENkaku Ensō itself, and that is adrenaline. Now, we all know that the PlayStation Vita has a PSP sleeping inside of it. Adrenaline wakes that Vita up with an XMB interface that allows you to basically be running a PSP with 6.61 custom firmware on there. That means if there's a Homebrew that's not available on the Vita, but there was one available on the PSP, you can just go into Adrenaline and run it that way. You're effectively having 2 consoles in one. 3, if you remember the fact that the PSP has a PlayStation 1 emulator through which you can play your games. In fact, whenever you download a PS1 original on your Vita, it's running via the PSP emulator that is inside your Vita. So you have available to you the libraries of the PS Vita, the PSP, and the PlayStation 1, all in one package, not to mention everything that's available to you via emulation. This thing is a powerhouse. When I was trying to run Final Fantasy VI Advance with the sound restoration mod on a native emulator for the Vita, I was having so many issues, but I was able to install GPSP onto the PlayStation Portable that is inside this machine and run the sound restoration mod flawlessly. This is so amazing. With the power of Adrenaline and HENkaku Ensō, there's limitless potential for the PlayStation Vita. This last one may sound like a cheat, but I believe it's very essential to having a Vita in 2022, and that's just to play games. Go out there, go into the wild and explore. Find what you like. Play Danganronpa, play Persona 3 Portable, play Super Mario World. The sky's the limit. Right now I'm playing SNK vs Capcom Card Fight Battle on a Neo Geo Pocket Color emulator, running natively on the Vita, and I'm getting 60 frames per second. It's ridiculous. The more time we spend with this little console, the more we realize its potential, and frankly, the angrier I get that Sony gave up on this thing, because it looks like they didn't even realize the potential of their own machine, and that's sad. I could go on and on and on and on and on about how much I love this thing, man. Bonus fact, by the way, if you have a North American or a European Vita, you have an option in HENkaku settings to set circle as your confirm and cross as your exit or cancel. This works across all menus as far as I can tell. Not only the default PS Vita menus that you can go through, but also applications like Vita Shell will respect your button layout, as well as something like Vita Homebrew browser that'll respect your button layout. But games are finicky. I feel like games are gonna default to whatever they're using for whatever region they were released in. And a weird example is Adrenaline. When you're in the XMB, it won't respect your button layout. However, if you pull up the Adrenaline settings, it will. So there can be some inconsistency there. And that's pretty much it. You know, 7 essentials for PlayStation Vita. I know number 7 was kind of maybe a cop out, but I mean, if you're buying a gaming system, then it's essential that you play games, right? If there's anything you feel like I missed in this list, why don't you let me know in the comments? All answers down below. Subscribe to the channel and like this video if you appreciate it. I am out.